all you four-color funny book aficionados. This is US Comics Cast, HQ for all things comic book connected. We are John and Charlie Rivera, the co-founders of US Comics. Charlie, happy actual comic book day.
Happy Comic Book Day to you and to everyone listening and watching today. As always, we are brought to you by Bad Mary Band and Sergeant Finesse Gaming. If you haven't done so already, please hit that comment section like you're getting boxing lessons from a transgender Indian woman 2 feet taller than Godzilla themselves. This episode of US Comics, we're talking Monkey Man. We're talking a very important Stephen King anniversary, and we are talking John's Greatest American Heroes pitch. John.
Charlie, what the fuck are you talking about?
Talking about the movie moment of the year, but that's in our second segment. A little more importantly is, how are you doing on this most Wednesday of Wednesdays?
All right, I'll take your word for it. Charlie, it's one of those Wednesdays where like you don't quite know what the hell to do with yourself. We got big haps coming up next week, and I'm really just kind of in the throes of preparing for it. We'll be putting that out there into the world.
Someone got new initials.
Someone got new initials.
And they're kind of my old initials, which is fucked.
Well,
because like at best, mine are phony here.
But what about yourself? What's going on in Charlie?
Third level of hell. Nice. The only good thing is if I can get my hands on a proper passcode for TBS tonight. There's some footage being aired on a wrestling program that's real life, but being used in fake life. Which is my favorite thing.
All right. I mean, fake life masquerading as real life.
Yeah.
Derived from maybe real life. We're not entirely sure.
That's like a snake eating its own tail and then popping it back out and using it as a tail.
Well,
like that is an ugly, painful logo, and I'm here for it.
I do have to say that sounds very much like a Stephen King story.
Oh fuck!
And that's appropriate because that is
creepy.
Our first story. Charlie, 50 years ago, this month, our man Stephen the King himself popped his first of a very, very long list of absolute banger novelizations. The first, of course, being, again, 50 years ago, Carrie became part of the worldwide lexicon. Pulling a Carrie has actually become a thing. It's the only reason why I don't pick on kids at any point, because you never know if they're gonna start throwing powers and just ruin my day.
What bad luck as far as bullies go. Like you could have picked on any nerd, but they're like, what about the relatively attractive broad? Let's bring her to a dance and really fuck up her life.
I just feel like that's kind of victim blaming on your part.
Yeah. When it comes to
the
matters,
bully decides who and when to pick on somebody, it's organic. You don't ever stop and think, this broad's gonna burn everything down and throw me around like a rag doll using only her brain.
Would it be more fucked up if they didn't pick on her because they were worried of a Carrie situation?
Yeah.
Like you bring up a valid point.
Yeah.
You bring up
that would be victimizing the potential victim.
I am horrified to admit, but like, good point.
I know.
Good
Charlie,
point.
I can't believe it. 50 years of Stephen King content for our brains. It boggles my brain, and I believe all kinds of crazy Stephen King shit.
Just brand new terror for half a century. Half a century.
I mean, Edward VIII tried his best, but like even he did not get to that point.
50 years, 364 books. That's really impressive. This motherfucker pumps out nightmares.
He is
basically on the daily.
Prolific. It's unbelievable.
How horrifying
content.
What's scarier? What? Not to wrestle control of the topic away from you. Which of his stories do you think creeps you out the most? Like, what character? Is it Pennywise? Is it Carrie? Is it that fucking car that just keeps fucking up everyone's day?
It's really a loaded question, and as a constant reader myself, guys, if you're reading,
you can just wait for the movie.
As a constant reader, I read absolute everything that Stephen King puts out there into the world. It's a tough question because it so very much varies. There could be something that Stephen King decides to villainize for
Yeah.
you that you're like, oh no, I never thought that blenders were a problem.
Ooh,
But
earbuds.
holy fuck, the second that he writes like a haunted blender story, it's over for me.
Just
And
fucks your day up.
I'm never gonna look at blenders the same way. A truck rumbling by, I'm like, nope, that's definitely gonna run over a baby. I mean, anything whatsoever. Our mother constantly talks about Salem's Lot
Yeah.
as having moments in it that just like still to this day, regardless of her hair color, like still to this day, that's actually the reason
It turns
why she was
it white,
worried about
and now she has
it's turning
to...
white. She read so much Stephen King, it wants to turn white.
What if every book scares your hair a different color?
But yeah, so it does largely vary, but like the scary shit, the really scary thing about it is that it's not just scary stuff that Stephen King does that will mess with you. He talks about all kinds of like
Yeah.
he operates in genres that you would not think, oh, that's Stephen King.
Yeah.
You know, you would not automatically
He
assume
got
whether it's
bored of scaring the shit out of you.
sci-fi or fantasy, like high fantasy stuff, detective novels, like assassin books. There's at least as far as I can tell,
Yeah.
there's nothing that he fucking cannot do. The man is just
Yeah.
he's prolific. He's a genius. He's a generational talent.
Yeah.
And thankfully he had kids. So like, oh, thank you. That was the best gift.
Yeah. So so the scariest thing about him is probably his office is littered with half-baked ideas that like didn't work. His talent level is the scariest thing about him for you.
You know what's truly scary is because when you read a Stephen King book, your brain is saying, okay, you're reading a Stephen King book right now.
He can't hurt you. He's gonna.
Knowing the source, like so famously or infamously, he got going on a walk for his health. He gets hit by a truck, and almost
was them trying to not give us nightmares.
Oh man, and was like close to death. Like they really fucked him up. And then you're reading a Stephen King book at some point, and then there's a character who gets hit by a car and like is all mangled and all the terrible things that happen to him afterwards. And your brain is doing double duty because on one hand you're like, this is a great story. I cannot wait to see how this plays out. This is gonna make sleeping hard tonight. But then on the other side, the other half of your brain is like, this is coming from Stephen King. He has a personal, direct experience with this stuff, and now you're personalizing these crazy ass things. I mean, there's stuff that he writes about, like my personal favorite, my number one desert island type Stephen King under the arm carryover from the Life Raft would be the Dark Tower series as a whole. That's my number one jam, but which is
an appropriate like genie wish.
All of it is
that's so much good content. You're like, I'll take that.
I'll take this. But like, so that's probably my number one Stephen King thing. But like, he just does everything so well. Does any Stephen King a property or thing pop out for you?
It's trite, it's obvious, but it's worthy of anyone.
Dolores Claiborne. Obviously, Charlie is a Dolores Claiborne.
What was that movie with the testicles, the Tommyknockers? Let's say that book. No, I think for a lot of people, it is a definitive work. When you think of something nice, when you think of something terrifying, and for me, it was always. I actually mentioned this to you just in life. I'm very curious about what the series is going to be. Because that town is the scariest thing for me.
Derry is a problem.
And the reimagining, the kind of
red balloon just
exactly. Fuck
really
that. For me, one of the scariest things is just that town being aware of evil and not particularly fighting it. Like that aspect to me is one of those things that it feels, hindsight being 2020, being a big fan of his Twitter account. It feels like that was always commentary I didn't figure out until I was a man. So like as a kid, I was terrified. And then as an adult, I'm like, oh no, people do this all the fucking time, except there's not an obvious evil clown.
So Stephen King is very much on the record, both within his prose, but also like as he's, just like talking one-on-one to many, many people, as being the monsters aren't the real evil.
Yeah.
it's the people,
Yep.
and he's talking about in real life. He's talking about in his stories. I mean,
He's not talking about the pros. You're right.
That's the secret
He's
sauce.
like, you know what's terrifying?
So to speak. He's like,
Humans.
people are the freaking worst. So in something like Derry, when you know, when kids are having their arms ripped off in sewers, and there are like adult human people,
Just close
so
the
like,
door.
let me just close that up and get the cat inside. You're like, oh, fuck you, old lady. At that point, Pennywise is not the biggest problem on the block, and that so speaks to real life currently, and I'm assuming must have been for the last 50 years, because Stephen King did not just pluck this out of the air.
And I think that is that ultimately that winds up being the thing that works for me the most. I think the best example of it, and it's just because it's such a fucking dense, not as a, I don't mean that as a pejorative, but it is a fucking huge book. Like
It's
you put
it
in,
is a big read. It's
put
over 1,000 pages.
so I think part of the reason is like I remember finishing it and feeling very accomplished.
Nice.
Because the first time I read it, I was like relatively young, and I'm not much of a reader.
Let me ask you this. So what was your first experience with the story?
The book. I read the book before I
Really?
watched the movie.
Wow.
It was like it was very early in my my pretension, and we got up to
Was it just because it was around? Because
No,
they made like 2-3 copies.
basically I was having a nerdy conversation about cinema with someone, and they were like, "Oh, you have to watch. How have you not seen The Shining?" And I was like, "I'm not super into horror." And at the time, I wasn't. Like, at the time, like, slasher films didn't really do anything for me.
You weren't a fan.
It was like,
type.
I wasn't yet. And someone was like, this person was that guy. He worked at Blockbuster. We might as well be in the cult of Kubrick. So his big thing wasn't
Stanley Kubrick worked at Blockbuster? I'm going to fact check that.
that adds up, though. What was crazy for me in my introduction to it was almost like a challenge of like, this movie's even better than the source material somehow, and the book's one of the greatest ever. And I'm like, the what?
Wait, what did they say?
So this person is such a Kubrick fan.
Yeah.
They think the changes to it make the film. But again,
respectfully.
But this person wanted.
I have to disagree.
But also, this person was very much wanted to have the argument. So I was unarmed for the argument.
Call him up.
I was unarmed
Call
for
him
the
up.
argument. So then where he started, it somehow became like, oh, this is even better than it, and it is such a. So what happened was, I at the time was very much book first because of Jurassic Park, because I watched Jurassic Park and I read Jurassic Park, and I felt like I would have had a different opinion of Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 2.
Yeah.
So like Jurassic Park 2 as a film works better for me because it takes from Jurassic Park 1. So I felt like I owed it myself to like read.
Half of it.
So I went from like the longest book I read would have been something assigned in school to then like I chewed through it. Like that was the first and last time I read quickly. So because you and our mother are like power readers, I'm a chapter a night guy.
Mom more so, I think, than me.
But she doesn't remember any character names, so it's a little bit different.
But let me ask you this: so speaking to it specifically, because it is almost 2 books.
Yes.
Right. And
with a lot of weird child sex in the middle.
Yeah, just a little bit. But part of the reason why I really appreciated the most recent adaptation is because they approached it in that same way. There was a part 1, part 2, but it's all it. And like you said, the new Derry series is almost like is going to be an it quote.
Yeah.
But that being said, did you have a preferred era? So the kids as kids, or them as adults? Were you more into one or the other, or did you not care?
Because of my age, the kids as kids
felt
more. This is well before I would have been like, why did this guy become a bitch?
Even though in the book version, the kids were kids in the 50s and adults in the 80s.
Correct. Yeah, that didn't really move my needle. It was more of like these for me originally. This is how ice cold my take was on my first experience with it. I'm like, why are all these fucking adults such pansies? Like, what about, like, we get it, but you won. Like, I couldn't wrap my head, because at that time, narrative for me, well, you have to remember the place I'm coming from is, narratively speaking, the hero's journey ends and the fucking hero's coming. Right. There is no
happily ever after.
Happily, this was the very first. Honestly, it might be the first time I was confronted with a story that hit the happily ever after, and then it was like 2 weeks later. And I was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Why is the story?
Yeah.
I distinctly remember too in the book, because the book, which is different than both films, but specifically very different than the most recent ones, jumps back and forth a lot. It's not like you get all the kids, as you know.
Yeah,
I'm explaining it to you like you didn't fucking
see, John. There's a
teach me
guy
that.
called Stephen King.
Yeah, he has children. So for me, there was still a lot of book left, even with that back and forth. They kind of like win, and then you're like, bitch, there's 400 pages left.
So
Fuck do you mean you won?
it's interesting because if there is a knock to be had on Stephen King, which to me I'm like, he's knock proof, he's unknockable. But if there is a knock, it's universally, well, I don't like his endings.
Yeah.
Now, personally, I do subscribe, and this is the reason for the subscription, and I've applied it to other things in recent years as well. I think what ends up happening is that people love the content so much that any ending is not going to feel sufficient. It's not going to feel satisfying because something you loved ended.
Yep.
Right? Nobody talks about like, oh, well, the last day of high school sucked and blah, blah, blah. I didn't like that ending. What the fuck did you want to say? Like, you know, then do something different.
And I got to tell you, my last day of high school was bonkers good.
But you get what I'm saying. Like people they're not going to be satisfied by anything just because of the nature that something's ending. But this is my bigger point.
Yeah, please.
No one would have the bollocks to even kind of bring that shit to you when you start talking about Stephen King's short stories, when you start talking about his novellas, when you start talking about really any other of the revisited content that he throws out there.
I have a theory about that.
All right.
The reason I think
I have a reason.
The reason I think the novellas and specifically the short stories tend to work quicker is I don't think we have enough time with those stories to fan cast. So the thing I always talk about with
fan cast,
like with legacy sequels, I talked about you again privately. I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but like one of the issues that people have with like Star Wars is you hear a new Star Wars project that's coming up, and you hear like what era it's in, and you make a film in your head. Well, I think with Stephen King, at least for me, I got to page 300, and I'm like, I can't wait till these fucking kids pull a reverse like Uno style and start using. Well, if nightmares can work for him, can they Freddy Krueger it? I even with my first real dive into Stephen King, which again was it, not Shining, but I did it for Shining too. Is like you start 10 chapters from the end, you're like, I bet this shit's gonna
Shining
happen.
too. I'm like,
the Electric Boogaloo.
There is actually
there is kind of
fucking.
Speaking of Star Wars, fucking McGregor is McGregor.
And
could you imagine?
And I know exactly what you meant.
Yeah. Fucking Hans Gruber. I don't know. Fucking
exactly. Shining's really ringing in my head.
But why do you think it? Because I think again, when it's short stories, like he gets you not for nothing. The guy is the master of like getting you in and through a story as well. If you let him take his time, it's masturbatory, but in a good way. People
will say like, well, you've got to get someone early if you want to get them invested. And Stephen King might be the best at that shit. The problem is he will get you invested and rooting for a character and on their side, and then you're like, wow, this one page of text really got me. And
then a lawnmower runs
he's dead now. Oh, that sucks.
The lawnmower was possessed.
And they killed him with a baby.
Yeah.
So now the actual baby is also as well.
And that baby took a dump on his head. It was fucked.
I mean, he is just so freaking good at it. And the other thing is where we mentioned it kind of quickly, the name Stephen King conjures up like a preconceived notion where you're like, oh, spooky, this and the other thing. But the truth of the matter is the man is so good at giving us a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of the other, that if you crack the book, and again, 97.8% of this is just totally unattached original IP, you have no freaking idea what's coming. So recently, Holly Gribney has become kind of a breakout character for Stephen King, and she's a character who we were first introduced to in the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, which is the least Stephen King shit there is that he's put out there, or one of, I should say. It's a straight up like detective story, retired cop, not really happy with what's going on. Like retirement does not suit him type of thing. He's in his head, and all of a sudden, this unsolved crime that he was on kind of like comes back up to the surface, and now he's like taking the gun out of his mouth, so to speak, but also literally. And then there's that journey, and then you find a little bit of like chicanery comes up with supernatural, not necessarily the supernatural, but the, outside the norm
Shenanigans.
So shenanigans, right? And it kind of takes you on this journey. Now, what's very interesting is that's an award-winning in the detective genre story or trilogy of stories, which is like just amazing. It's like a person is a gold medal winner for archery, and then all of a sudden wins like a cross country meet. Like, what? That's not even what you do. How dare you? Yeah. How dare you, talented bastard? But he fucking did it, and then at the same time hands us a character that so far goes on beyond the original confines, in which she just recently had. And it came out on my birthday this past year, which was really a gift from him to me. So thank you, Stephen. And she had her own book. She had dedicated like stories, short stories, within his stuff, and appeared as a character, like a crossover character. Which anytime the Stephen King verse is established, but he's not in it personally. I'm not too sure about how I feel about that. He's not perfect. I'm like, oh snap, it's Holly. Like you get excited for like the walk-on role, and then she ends up having her own book. And Charlie, as much as you love her, or I do, for her character, stuff happens in that book. I don't want to spoil it because it's still relatively new by comparison to like The Shining or It or whatever. Just came out last year in September. It is so fucking gross. Like it just affects you on a like a base level, and it's not ghoulies coming back from the dead. There's no vampires, there's no werewolves running around. It's not that kind of stuff that just a blanket Stephen King reaction would give you. It is like, it's stuff that people do on a daily basis and don't think anything about it. You're like, like it affects you. A page that you read that night affects you through the night and into the next morning. Stephen King is just so important, bro. He is amazing. Let me ask you this.
Yeah,
ask you this, because like you said, your first inclination isn't always to read the thing. Other than, well, you didn't see either of those first. So, have you come across any Stephen King content out there in TV or movie format where you're like, I have to read this book?
Fun fact about me.
Do it. I love fun.
Thank God. This is going to annoy you. And it'll also, I think, make you proud. Stephen King is such a brilliant writer. And people have such a hard time adapting him. I don't watch a Stephen King project until I read the book.
Really?
So my favorite example of it was, I was dying to watch, and I can't remember the name, I'm awful with it, but you'll remember the JFK book. Do you remember the name of it?
Yeah,
it's like the year he died.
11. It's 11/23/60 something.
See, this is where I didn't want to be the one to not remember when JFK died.
Yeah, no, that's
the arguably my second favorite time travel story of all time.
Well,
Back to the Future.
It's a time travel story about time travel. So that's how you do it, folks.
So when he casually dropped that before his cancellation, James Franco, was crushing it. Everyone was saying he did such a good job with this.
Real quick, I wish we had a live.
Did you knock it out of the park?
I wish we had a live rewind, because, and I can't be positive. But 11/22/63.
Wouldn't it be funny if you were like 10/21/62? Like if you were just.
I'm feeling a little off today. I'm pretty sure I said 11/23. Is it 22?
I mean, someone would say,
it would have been close.
Someone listening right now is calling you either the greatest or a buffoon.
It would have,
and it's me in the edit. But that story was one that I was like, I'm going to deny myself this instant gratification.
Yeah.
And I think that series was also one that came out weekly. It wasn't just instantly bingeable.
Yeah.
So then I really had the excuse, and I fell in love with that book.
That's a real quick read.
So I went from, it is, thankfully, because again, I'm not the greatest speed reader of all time. What's very funny though is, so I went from being excited about the show. I saw the trailer, I see the creative team, and I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yes.
Then I read the book and instantly switch on I like took out my pretentious hat from storage, and I was like, don't fuck this up, James. And to that show's credit, I was as satisfied.
Nice
I was as satisfied with that as I've been with any adaptation of The Shining. Again, the best adaptation of The Shining is a fucking very different story.
So here's my thing, and I agree with you on.
I have a hot take on this too. If you go where I think
11/22. As far as I know, The Shining was really the one, or at least like the apex version of a creator to me not liking the adaptation.
Yeah.
And what's ironic about it is that the adaptation,
not liking the source.
No, the adaptation is beloved by people.
Yeah.
People love Kubrick. People love The Shining.
Oh, you're talking about Stephen. I think you're talking about Kubrick.
Stephen King said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Stephen King fucking hates that adaptation.
Changed conservatively, changed 70%.
Well, yeah,
He changes the color of the car in the opening scene, almost out of spite.
Well, but again, that was he's kind of a douche creator. Kubrick was.
Most geniuses
like
are douches.
he was confident in himself. Just to put it kindly, because I do absolutely respect the man.
He's brilliant.
However,
doesn't make him nice.
My biggest issue, truly, the difference between the two, and if you haven't read it and only watched it, do yourself a favor, read it, and vice versa. Quite frankly,
I don't know why I said yeah like that. Like, yeah.
The biggest issue is that Jack is always a cunt in the movie. Like, he's never a good guy, even when he's kind of like the beginning of most horror movies. Their stereotypical thing is like, we're gonna show you the Disney beginning, and things are gonna get so bad, and granted they do, but in that, like, the Disneyfication version of the beginning, which is what you're supposed to do to have people at ease, get settled into the seats.
He's already breaking the fourth wall.
Charlie Nicholson is like, and he's a phenomenal actor, one of my favorites, but the way that he's playing it is, I'm a dick, and I'm playing it somewhat classy and nice to this person just to get the gig. I just want the job, so I'm faking being who I am, which we come to find out is a raging alcoholic, murderous asshole. But he was always seemed to be that, as opposed to the novelization, which is the true version of the story because it came from Stephen. He was like a good guy. At the very worst, he was not a great writer. My
interpretation of that,
turned into a fucking monster in front of our eyes.
Transformed.
He's created. He wasn't born that way.
Hot take?
Take me.
I don't think anyone can, including Stephen King, I don't think anyone can actually adapt his work because by and large,
Stephen King is famously a terrible director. He's not a good
He does
director.
such a masterful.
Well, his acting has come a long way.
A very long way, actually. I really like him in his cameos.
Let me ask you this.
But real quick, let me just finish up. I don't think anyone can adapt it. So if you're going to adapt Stephen King, my preference is you pull a Kubrick. Have a different thing to say with the bones of the source material.
I think
unless your favorite series of his, because holy shit, when you miss.
So I do disagree with the adaptation take of it. I think if you have,
it was hot.
It's like it was hot, scorching. That's like somebody saying to me, well, I'm gonna take this Lego set with clear instructions, and it's a castle. I'm gonna make a rocket ship. Like, yeah, of course. And someone can say, wow, look at the rocket ship that you made out of these other parts. But the fucking castle would have been amazing. And worst part, there are going to be a great many people showing up to see the castle.
The
fuck, man? That was not a rocket ship.
For posterity and for clarification, it's only because his written work is so good.
Yeah,
I still don't support like the Snyderization of like, let's take a thing you love and manifest. What I'm talking about with specifically with Stephen King, I think the better first bite at the apple is like put some sort of spin on it, because I think a straight adaptation will always fall so short of the source.
I hear what you're saying, but 11/22
did a great job, and they followed the roadmap.
So let me ask you this last question, and then we'll jump out of this topic, because I could have done fucking a 2-hour episode.
Fuck yeah, you could have.
This. Unadapted Stephen King work that you'd like to see adapted, and how?
Fuck me. Definitely a series, because I don't like shortcuts. Unadapted. Fuck me. See, I thought you were gonna ask this question, and I was like, fix Tommy Knockers. So I love Tommy Knockers.
You want mine, and I'll give you.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I also may just break the rule and say Tommy Knockers. That story is fucking amazing. That story's amazing. They did an awful job.
They adapted Under the Dome. So like,
touche.
Sometimes some of the things they pull from
touche
is just kind of like a stab in the dark. For me, one of the aforementioned genre-defining type things that you wouldn't expect from Stephen King, but has done so well, and is one of the books that I talk about to people all the time anytime the subject comes up. Eyes of the Dragon is one of the Stephen King masterpieces to me that is not brought up anywhere near enough. I want to see it adapted by the good folks at HBO. Now that the Jon Snow spinoff is officially not happening, I want you to take all those people, fucking take all those costumes.
Done.
You could take half the cast, just gather them up and say, hey guys, guess what? We are doing Stephen King
new pages.
We're doing Stephen King where just show up, and you can still have the same accents and everything. Stephen King's high fantasy series where I'm like, I didn't know he did this. It plays like an untold Game of Thrones story, but like even more engaging, even more caring about the characters, and even more moments of that. Oh snap! The fact that it's like somewhat half related to the Dark Tower, that doesn't really need to be acknowledged right now. Just take my word for it. I would love to see Eyes of the Dragon adapted, and when just for the fact that like when people like Stephen King, oh man, that is mother's milk to me. But did anything pop to mind?
No, I'm just gonna go with that. That's a
better answer. Me, that's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, and right on the heels of that, far more recent, he took a step back into a fantasy, and he's got a lot to say. Stephen, take care of yourself. Thank you.
50 more years of Stephen King.
Thank you for Joe Hill. Owen, school's still out, but he teaches, so he does what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, love Stephen King. Anything he puts out, I'm gonna be right there. It's an automatic buy. It's a pre-order for me. I love everything Stephen King, and I just appreciate him. And thank you for the last 50 years. And anybody who says that Stephen King is not the fucking master of anything he attempts to do, including walking down the street, minding your own business, is one thing and one thing only. Ow! What was that? Just like that fucking toy boy, bearded, richest celebrity because he knows how to cut a deal.
That's true.
George Lucas. Why, Charlie? Why?
Because
Han shot first. Be careful of people walking down the road.
How have we still not made a batch of fucking Han shots? That's your irresponsibility.
That's my fault. With the next anniversary show, I will be making Han shots.
Nice.
With the ingredients live for the good people.
Oh my god, I love that so much. That's not the only. Woo! That's not your only fuck up of this week.
Damn. You gonna talk about it?
I mean, I'm just saying. Like,
I thought the lights were out. I apologize. I normally close the door to my bathroom, but sometimes when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Fun fact: you did do like a fake poo joke this week, which I thought was very funny. It was very funny, but that like hits very close to home.
I really did.
The cinema's calling. And good friend of the show, Casey, answered. I always answer the call.
Yeah. You don't back up.
You, however, sat out Monkey Man.
I had charities were calling my name, man.
Monkey Man,
It was a good cause.
the Netflix orphan. Monkey Man came out, and
For wide relief in cinema.
Exactly.
Release.
And
cinema.
unfortunately, despite releasing and being as good as one could hope, it didn't light up the box office. But the most important thing was it did light up my heart, because Monkey Man is goddamn amazing.
Dev Patel.
And
He brought it, bro.
This is me begging you guys to give it a chance in cinemas. I do think this is a film that will settle nicely into an at-home experience. But I do think there's something about seeing it on a fucking 50 to 100-foot screen.
Yeah.
Again, Casey, the Rocky loving son of a gun himself, can attest this film has an amazing montage.
It's not like a little thing like a wedding he's got to prepare for. Otherwise, Casey would have been here.
But the John Wickian film itself follows the very, very simple kind of plot line. The setup is real simple. I'm going to read you the synopsis.
Do it.
A young man ekes out a meager living in an underground fight club where night after night, wearing a gorilla mask, he's beaten bloody by more popular fighters for cash. After years of suppressed rage, he discovers a way to infiltrate the enclave of the city's sinister elite, and his childhood trauma boils the fuck over. His mysteriously scarred hands unleash an explosive campaign of retribution to settle the score with the men who took everything from me. John, the first thing I gotta tell you, this shit could have been Monkey Man in AEW. He fights in an underground club that has like an announcer who's like, all of you should be terrified of the Monkey Man. And then it's a real fight. I'm like, fight the whole thing. Why are you in this like photorealistic monkey mask?
You gotta sell it, bro.
Fighting Snake Man. I'm like, oh shit, He-Man's next. And this motherfucker Snake Man has like eyeliner and like not as intricate of a mask.
like the team from Semi Pro.
It's
burning.
Exactly.
Go. We gotta look good for the camera.
The brutality of these fight scenes.
Yeah.
Served the first time they have a massive fight, I giggled at the announcement. I'm like, oh shit, I got misled. It's gonna be like fake. It's gonna be like, now punch me.
Right.
No, they're breaking jaws.
Like the ref is gonna tell them what to do.
They're whooping ass. It is fucking the movie opens akin to Rocky.
Yeah.
And then gives you more Rocky, that he's like, you know, he's poor and but has like a heart of gold, and like he isn't fucking talking a lot, and you're like, this guy get beaten stupid. And then the movie transitions into a John Wick revenge picture.
Right.
Then takes a break to do the almost the white savior thing, except this is an Indian guy in India.
Brown, yeah.
So you're getting this whole culture with what their underground crime scene looks like, except the like crime boss is a politician, but the number two is like a religious figure. So you're like, I'm like, what the this movie, first of all, flies by for 2 hours.
Oh wow.
But also as well as
2 hour flick.
And it has like 97 chapters, because at one point he gets a training montage. He gets saved by transgender.
And you see him young.
You get to see him as like a little kid. You get his whole backstory.
Right.
Transgender women save him in their religious home that they have the rights to, but there's a political plan to excise them from the community. I'm like, what the fuck? And it's all framed.
So sexy.
And it has this framework of this like Indian proverb about this. There's this little monkey. This isn't a spoiler. This is like kind of in the trailer.
But it's called Monkey Man. So
correct. And it's
the fact that a monkey shows up should not be a spoiler.
They have like this beautiful animated sequence, but the story that informs the character but isn't about the character. There's this little monkey, and he's fucking hungry, and he's gonna get a mango, and the forest is full of mangoes, but he wants the shiniest, brightest, biggest mango. And he reaches up and he plucks the sun from the sky, and he eats it, and then the gods are pissed and beat the fuck out of him.
It just happened the other day.
And that's...
Is that why we had an eclipse?
Yes, that is exactly why. John, this movie is equal parts a paint by numbers hybrid of
Lionheart.
Lionheart. take realistically, take Bloodsport,
Oh no.
take Rocky, take John Wick, take
Curious George.
Curious George, take the middle sequence of the new Into the Spider-Verse movie, put it in a blender, and have Dev Patel make Netflix look silly.
No.
This was a Netflix project.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Let me ask. So
Yeah.
having seen the movie,
Yeah.
and
In case you can't tell, it's fucking incredible.
there is like a lot of rabble right now of saying like, oh, this movie has to be seen in theaters. But then I'll definitely still so I threw on Oppenheimer,
Yeah.
and like I saw it on the big screen, I saw it on the small screen. I'm like, this is still fucking great.
Yes.
Now, would I say would I have thought to myself, seeing it on the big screen was a waste? No, not at all. But this movie having been intended, original distribution plans were for a streaming release.
For Netflix, yeah.
And like you said, Dev Patel did every fucking thing in this movie except for play the music. And
He plays the
he
cartoon
might
monkey, which I thought was a brave choice.
So did you feel that seeing on the big screen brought anything additional that you would not have from seeing it on the small screen, which you probably can with the world being the way it is next week?
Just gravitas.
Okay,
All that
okay.
being in theaters did was legitimize
Because he is 8 feet tall.
an Indian like action star.
Mm.
I think the outside narrative that it served is why the screen adaptation was worth
To get
it.
into a theater.
Just to be able to say this was theatrically released, because I do think there's still some bias against straight to streaming.
Right.
Straight to streaming isn't quite straight to DVD because that still happens.
Yeah.
That's how you kind of if
Exactly.
something debuts on Redbox, you know there's a fuck up.
Just ask Jason Statham if straight to streaming is the same as straight to fucking DVD, because he'd be like, no, it fucking isn't. You can't.
What's very funny though is
Slap
this film a little bit backfired by having it go theatrical, because despite coming in at number 2 behind Godzilla, it was an anemic week at the box office.
Did it beat Ghostbusters?
It did, but Ghostbusters is now in like week 4.
Yeah.
So Ghostbusters I think moved down to 4th. Godzilla stayed in 1st. Monkey Man 2, and another movie I do want to briefly kind of hip you to, The First Omen, came in 3rd. But Monkey Man and The First Omen, there was talk that these movies were going to make 15 million, which would have been them hitting grand slams, because that was never in the DNA of this. What this film feels like to me would almost be like that cool back in the day. This would have been a Blockbuster exclusive that every fucking body was talking about. It would have been like a direct to home VHS, but because it's like, you ain't fucking ready for Monkey Man. And the violence, the cultural aspect, I think it's true. I think you cannot, in a short synopsis, I read you one, that leaves out the entire essence of the fucking film, John. When you get into
the whole subplot and fucking
and again, I keep mentioning him because I think friend of the show, he's been on the show, Rocky super fan,
tallest guy we know,
tallest person we know. Casey and I both love film for different reasons, and both of us, those credits at the roll, we look like Cheshire cats looking at each other because we were like, first of all, what the fuck was that?
Because you reached into the fucking Tiger Man, the Monkey Man fucking popcorn bucket.
Yeah, we
like, oh,
exactly
pinky
right,
touching.
Exactly. But it is a miracle of a film, because even in 2024,
a miracle of a film, that's strong.
In 2024, this is a movie that at any other time in history would have been a white savior movie. It would have been like, they would have moved around to be like, and I love him, but Keanu Reeves shows up and he's fighting this thing and he frees the trans community. Like, they would have distilled it.
This movie, though, doesn't happen without Dev Patel.
No, it's his brainchild. It's also him doing the fucking coolest thing a performer can do, which is like, one is
a Monkey Man.
No, exactly. It felt very much like no one is making this type of movie for me.
Uh,
And I bet if I were to put money down and say what inspired him taking pen to paper, it would have been like, well, no one makes a John Wick film for a brown guy. And then while doing that, he's like, you know what else they don't make? They don't make political statement films that leave India for brown people. So he made all the films.
Right. The category that it slipped into nicely and reminded me of in its creation, and I hope this is the case, was IP Man. Right? Because IP Man was one of those movies where people were saying like, have you seen IP Man? Type of deal when it was Rent the Movie Night type of deal. And I said, no, I have not seen IP Man. And then they like forced it into my hand, and also the DVD. So I put it on. I'm like, oh, snappy nappy dugout. Thank you for showing this to me. And it really developed a cult following to the point where now when IP sequels come out, that's ironic. When IP Man sequels come out, they're like must watches, and you can fucking, wherever they are, you're gonna go see it.
Yeah.
My hope is that is the trajectory of Monkey Man, and that, like, again, continually people are saying you have to go see this. But you had mentioned The First Omen, which is the galactic opposite, which is
an IP
a fucking decades long franchise, which has been plugging along just evilly, Black Candle fucking just flickering. So you caught that also.
So yeah, The First Omen,
I'm like a sneak peek.
The First Omen was like, it was available like,
can I say, which is also one of the most confusingly titled. You're like, so The First Omen that just came out, you're like, what are you talking about? That shit came out in the 70s, bro. You're like, no, not the First Omen. The First Omen. You're
it's
like,
actually like the
who's
seventh.
on first,
it's
bro?
the seventh Omen, but it is the First Omen. So this is
the Omen's on third.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know what's in short.
The prequel to the Omen, where Damien caused all sorts of issues. It was impossible for me to sit down to that film and not be like, bring on the Schlockfest. I've mentioned it before. There's a Regal Theater by us. I signed up for a membership. Not going to the movies kind of costs me money now.
Charlie walks into this theater, guys. If ever you're like, yeah, for those good folks who only really listen to the podcast, God bless you, because those are our bigger numbers.
Yeah.
But if you have never laid eyes on the vision that is Charlie Rivera, and you happen to be in a Regal somewhere on the East Coast, on the east side of Long Island,
East Side,
and you walk into a theater, and you're like, and fucking Mayor McCheese of Regal Cinema comes strolling in, grabs your pizza out of your hand, and just eats it. That is Charlie. Charlie walks into this theater, not like he owns it, like he gets his fucking mail there. It is a sight to behold.
It's true.
Sorry,
and no, it's accurate. So I pick my favorite seat in the house. It's a nice 100-seater. I watch maybe 20 people stroll in. Now this is like a Thursday preview or something like that.
Thursday, Monday.
So I get real comfortable in my little like solo love seat, and I've
seen it.
I am fully prepared for doo-doo. And the movie starts, and I go,
which is okay.
It's totally. Like, I love a schlock.
There are plenty of.
I watched the Saw.
Like,
dude, I watched the Saw movies like almost like they're comedies at this point. And the last one was like pretty good. But I sit down for this film and I look around the audience and I giggle to myself because there are some people that were teenagers watching the original Omen in theaters. Like there are some old people, and I'm like, these fuckers do they not know what this movie is? It's gonna be like Jump Scare City. And I'm watching it, and right out of the gate, we get a fucking real boring fucking jump scare. And I go, oh no, I called it. And I like roll my eyes. And then, John, I proceed to get the tightest butthole that I've ever fucking had. This film.
All of a sudden, he's like,
this
what the fuck was that? That was my butthole?
This film does a masterful job of with 8K cameras shooting everything like they were in the 70s. There are these uncomfortable close-ups.
That's nice.
The ambient. John, I went from like lounging on the love seat to sitting straight up, like holding my cola, and I was just like, oh no, what's the most
don't do that.
the most fucked up movie I've seen in the better part of a decade.
Really?
Some of the visual horror in this.
Wow.
One, they do a creepy thing early on after that terrible jump scare, and I get like the heebiest of jeebies. And then
That's a good feeling though.
it is a good feeling.
You feel like that little hollowness, and you're like, let me fake yawn and look behind me right now because I don't want to acknowledge I'm scared.
And then they up the heebie and the jeebie to 300%, and I'm actively worried about these characters. They got me to be like, oh no. Then they do this amazing it was straight out of An American Werewolf in London, where you see something that looks fake as fuck, and it's still the most terrifying thing. Like, they show a visual scare that if it looked more realistic, you unwatchable.
Really?
Like, if it crossed this film, I felt like what I hoped I would feel with oh my god, what's the possession movie to beat all possession movies?
Exorcist?
When I saw Exorcist, I was like a grown man.
Uh-huh.
So it was dog shit because I saw everyone who was inspired by it. So I wasn't scared of fucking all. That movie just takes too long. They re-added the like painted face, and I was like, we laughed.
I've seen Linda at her naked. Like, I can't really be scared now.
This is
pea soup.
This is what I was supposed to feel during Exorcist. I left that movie having a different appreciation for 70s horror. I was like, fucking bring on another sequel to the bring on the second Omen, because so it is fucking genius.
What immediately came to mind when you were like, oh, I'm gonna go see this, and like talking about like the modern version of an old-fashioned horror movie, the Conjuring movies came to mind.
Yep.
Because I really enjoy those movies.
True. I
think they're handled very, very nicely. And I always get that feeling, like that old-fashioned, like, tight butthole, like, ooh, what's going to happen? Plus the fact that I really, really appreciate the hell out of the actors that are involved. And I trust them. Like, well, they're not going to...
Yeah.
There's no contract good enough for them to knowingly make it. Like, he's not going to go out and make an Aquaman. Derek,
twice? So you know how the Conjurings come out during Halloween?
Yeah.
Because they're good.
Yeah.
But they're still fucking...
Yeah, they're
horror movies. They're Halloween horror movies.
Candy.
The Omen, the first Omen, this Omen, does not belong in a Halloween release.
Okay.
Because everyone would go be like, day night, we're going to barely... No, you have to pay attention.
Right.
And, like, you can't help but pay attention.
Stop kissing my neck, bitch. I'm trying to watch this movie.
I watched most of it like, fuck no.
Really?
John, it is peak horror.
Okay.
And
yeah, I think
it's another one.
I gotta catch
it's another one though that like underperformed considering it was an IP. But everyone who sees it goes, I didn't fucking expect this out of a prequel to The Omen, and it doesn't ever lose the real miracle. And this segment was going to go on to be about the box office, but time is running late. The bigger thing for me, honestly, is these movies, when you start to hear that they're good, you can pay someone to say that a movie's good. We see it all the fucking time.
Of course.
The thing to watch for, if you love movies, like I love movies, like you love movies, the thing to watch for is those reviews where they're like, believe it or not, this shit was fire. Yeah. Because it was on a whim I saw it, but now that after I saw it, I was like, what are people thinking? Everyone had the same reaction as me. Be like, sat down to watch a piece of shit, blown away. Favorite horror movie in 3 years. Favorite horror. For me, it was the best scary experience I've had since Evil Dead last year or the year before.
But that was like a gross
and that's like a gross out.
Yeah.
This movie is like truly, 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 in my opinion, it outshines the original Omen in every capacity. I think this is the movie to talk about in the genre.
Wow.
This is my measuring stick now for if you want to freak me the fuck out with a possession-ish movie. It is a must-see, and to see it in cinema elevates it. If you can't, put away your phone, turn off the fucking lights. You can still have popcorn.
Well, do it anyway. Like, do it for Ace Ventura, guys. Like, I don't want to see your phone.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even I'm saying at home, take it in, drink it in, because if all you do is pay attention to the beats that are loud or intentionally scary, you're losing the tension.
But that's clearly not the movie.
Correct.
You know,
this movie grabbed me like by my heart.
You know what movie did that for me? Like, really? And then, unfortunately, they kept on pumping it out, so it was diminishing returns. Fucking Paranormal Activity. I remember nowhere near expecting the level of tight butthole. My butthole was inside out. That was how tight it was. I'm like, oh no, I hate this. But like, had to. I was cool points obligated to see it through. But if I was by myself and it was a little dark out, I'm like, just turn that right off. That hit me in such an unexpected way, like that hollow chest feeling. We're like, Johnny is not comfortable right now. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a random October 3rd, right? It's a Tuesday. Charlie's home alone.
Yeah.
Jameson's not even around. Jameson got a big date.
Yeah.
Dark out.
Little
windy.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe there's a storm passing through. Maybe even let's add a little fuel to the fire. Maybe there's an occasional flicker.
Ooh.
To the lights, but you got plenty of popcorn.
Yeah.
You got the heat is cranked up to a comfortable 82 degrees. Does Charlie watch the most recent First Omen by himself?
Only because I want to lock in that Halloween season.
So it's a yes.
It's a yes.
Or a double down.
And I would say this. September 1st is when I kind of start setting up for Halloween. Nice little 2-month window.
I mean, I would have preferred you say September 7th, but it's okay. It's all right. We'll accept it.
Fair enough.
Stephen King puts out books for my birthday. I can't expect everything.
Fair enough. So September 7th, when we start the season.
Right.
If you still haven't seen it, this is let's turn off the power. Let's pop some popcorn. And I won't even watch that film that time. I'm just going to be watching you.
Just watch.
Be like,
watch somebody watching
because this is honestly this is the first. I mean, it hasn't been a while because I think the new Evil Dead it's very different category. I think it's also on now my yearly list. It's on nice. It's on my yearly list for Halloween. But when I start planning my Halloween list, The Omen doesn't make the cut. First Omen does now. First Omen is a must watch seasonally.
The most recent, the First Omen.
2024 is the First Omen.
Well, it's good to know because final thought. I'm sorry.
No. My final thought to you is, if you cannot, these are must-watch flicks.
Okay.
These are must-watch. Honestly, turn in your nerd
mandatory.
Turn in your nerd card, and to just prove I'm not a total just love the movies. I also did see an early. I saw an early film Monday. It's the Mexicans playing golf, like Mighty Ducks movie.
The Mexican Mighty Duck golf movie,
which is very, very good. When you give your final thought, I'll pull
quack,
up the name.
Quack.
S.A. Little racist. My bad, everybody.
Very racist.
It's called The Long Game. Also good, but it's not rush out to go see.
Very loose.
I feel like you may only have a couple weeks to get to the theater and see this for the First Omen, 2024's First Omen. You might have less. If you can get to the cinemas, either of these films are going to be worth the money.
All right. Mission accomplished.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
No. Just other than we have to support these flicks if we want to expect them. If we're going to expect them to keep on putting them out there.
You want originality. Both of these films managed to deliver, which is crazy because one's an IP.
And completely different. Like one is a legacy sequel.
Yep.
Series, and one is brand new. So that's good to hear, man.
It was
like a
honestly it was I've had a very very good I had a very good
Solid
run
run.
last week
Solid run.
of flicks. Speaking of solid runs, at this point, I don't know if you keep track at home, we're never fucking wrong. Part of the reason that we're like never wrong about our opinions because they're real opinions.
Right.
And luckily for you, beautiful people, we don't just give you real opinions. We also give you real ads. We're not like other pods who sell for some brand that's willing to throw us a couple shekels. No. That's the reason why we are once again, easy for me to say, brought to you by one of our absolute favorite bands. And that, of course, is Bad Mary. You heard them during the intro. You're going to hear them again at the end of the show. If you're wondering where else you can catch their act, you can follow them at Bad Mary Band across all social media platforms. You can support them over on patreon.com/Bad Mary Band. You can stay up to date. BadMary.com for merch and upcoming performances. My favorite part is their entire discography is available across all music streaming services.
Daggone right, but that does leave the question, where we drop it? And guys and gals out there, and everybody in between, we are rapidly counting down the days. So this is going to be one of those fond memories. But currently, as of today's date, the Sarge is very much still streaming, still doing it out there. You can currently find him gaming almost exclusively on Kick. But if you're one of those little kids, you can still check him out as well on TikTok. Your information is pretty useless to the Chinese, so knock yourself out. But multiple streams, outstanding video game content, supported games, co-streams, giveaways, contests. Don't be a sucker. Check him out today while you're at it, or if he's off. Also, go ahead and go over to Twitch. Check out Jokers _stream_. Speaking of which, did you see the Joker trailer?
I did.
Oh my God! And guy, like I gotta talk to Joker just about this. But
I can't wait to see his Lady Gaga cosplay. Lady Gaga.
Oh, check him out. He's an outstanding Fortnite player, streamer, but he actually does play other games also. More to the point, he cosplays like a boss while he's doing it. And Bats does not mess around.
I'm just there for Bats.
Bats is just, the merch is absolutely worth it. But check them all out today. We would not talk about them. We do not get any money to do so. If we talk about something, it's because we personally love that ish and think that you will also.
It's true. We are also brought to you by your Long Island Ghostbusters. We are raising money for a Long Island food bank. But it's not just donating money. You donate $5, you are entered to win a proton pack, a neutrino wand, a PKE meter, a ghost trap, a full conversion kit to make your proton pack Frozen Empire ready.
I'm out.
You're out of things. The red parka, as seen briefly, but seen very, very dramatically on the big screen. The new little light up gizmo for the jacket pocket. And honestly, I'm probably going to throw in stickers and patches and stuff like that too. What do you look for? I have it behind me.
Oh, no, man.
I already prepped for it. So check that out. All of our social media is LI Ghostbusters. That's mostly Instagram and Facebook. $5 until the end of the month gets you entered. You can enter as many times as you like.
Charlie, just with that dynamite WWE WrestleMania delivery, I love it so much. But Charlie, there are connections on top of connections on top of connections. So I'll go ahead and take care of this because you were a fine, upstanding gentleman, and clearly the money in this situation. So let me go ahead and press this little button. Yeah.
Yes, business, etc.
Business. So, we started the show off today by speaking about Stephen King's 50th anniversary of his initial first release, our introduction to the King, Carrie.
Yes.
A poignant, the type of story that leaves marks on you. And this was also actually two adaptations that I can think of top of my head, both pretty darn good, but
and a musical,
and a musical, which not so good. But that all being said, the first adaptation, very, very well received. A lot of familiar faces when they were very, very young. But there's one face in particular who's going to be kind of like one of those cats that crosses and blurs the lines. So, the gentleman, and I use that term very, very loosely, who invites Carrie infamously to the prom where just all the pig blood is living nowadays, was played by a very curly, blonde-headed William Cat. And there are going to be those people out there thinking, oh, William Cat, you mean the blonde, curly-headed guy from House? And I'll say, that's the guy, but no, this is not the program that's talking about.
That is not what I mean.
Like, oh, you mean House 4? Nope. Also, as well as not what I'm referring to.
What about the first House?
They might say,
Came out fifth.
They might say, oh, you mean Pippin? Pippin, right? Yes, but also no. The project of William Katz that I'm referring to now is debatably, but if you're on the other side of the debate, you're just wrong, the greatest show theme song that there ever was, where most people know the theme song but have no idea from whence it came.
Every super suit has its season.
Nope.
Every super suit has its time.
That's incorrect. That is incorrect.
Birds have a monies. When do I get to crime?
No, at least that kind of rhymes, but you're the executive, so who am I to disagree with you? The greatest, not the second best, not too shabby, I never heard of him. The greatest American heroes, William Cat, is taking center stage here today in this elevator, which is a little bit more roomy than one might have thought.
I'm very well paid.
Ooh, my goof. I am so happy about this elevator pitch. When Charlie and I first talked about this as a concept, I said, you know what, let me do myself a favor and write down potential projects that I would want to serialize or sequelize or whatever eyes I can think of. And Greatest American Hero was right towards the damn top of that list. So you gon' get it now. If anyone out there is unfamiliar, I'm already hitting you. If you're out there and you're unfamiliar with the Greatest American Hero, shame on you.
Shame Did you not have Nick at Night?
Oh, shame on you. Did you ever wonder what that one particular weird shirt that Sheldon wears in the Big Bang Theory that you couldn't quite identify? Obviously, if Sheldon's wearing it, it's hilarious. No, just kidding. There's a reason for it, but I will help you out a little bit now. Before we get started with all due
you had me at white superhero leads.
So, the Greatest American Hero, a TV show. A teacher. They refer to his students as what did they refer to the students as? Like not special needs, but like basically they're like, nah, they're kind of dum-dums. But he
has a whole class full of
they were like they were jerks. Like he had a class of jerks, basically. If summer school didn't have the leads that it had,
holy shit, I have a different pitch for this movie.
It could have gone this way. But in any case, he decides to take these dum-dems out into the desert, because that's apparently what people could do back then in the 70s.
You don't need permission slips.
Takes the kids out, like nobody loves them anyway. And the minibus, which is really just a van with school bus on it, fucking dies. And he's like, oh, you know what? You kids, you sexually active kids, stay here in the desert all by yourself. I'm gonna walk down the street. And it wasn't good. Like the FBI guy tries to run him off the road. Alien shows up. Aliens drop off a super suit and like, yeah, you know what to do with it. But the way that they do it, they're like, no, we've traveled across the cosmos, but we can't communicate with you. So we're going to pull a bumblebee and tell you what we want to tell you by adjusting the radio to tell you, to give you like
true? I don't remember this.
Oh, yeah. So the aliens, they manipulate the radio of the car that they're traveling in to tell them like, okay, don't be afraid. We're just going to give you something. Go save the world. And he's like, I'm William Cat. I don't know what you're talking about. But they do. They give him just a baller red super suit. Just looks fantastic.
Looks like something, all right.
Oh my god! And the show ran for, I think the original run was for 3 seasons.
Really?
They put out 3 seasons. Now, what was funny was, and I think it was like an early iteration of Fox, they had 4 or 5 episodes in the can, and they're like, "No, you're canceled." Oh, so that means that the ones that we filmed that are already, we're just gonna run those, and it'll be able. Nope, it's over right fucking now. So they had 5 episodes that weren't aired.
Brutal.
That just were like, no, you're canceled now. Okay, cool. That was really cool. Thanks about it. Then decide, okay, what we're gonna do is we're going to have a spin-off, and it's now no longer gonna be William Cat. So that, let me go backwards. So the first iteration, they did like one of those. This is a movie, and that's gonna kick off the series. But like the movie will be on TV, so they cut it up into 2 episodes, and now the series is off and rolling. They do the same thing for the spin-off, which was going to be a female-led Greatest American Heroine.
Yeah.
They were like, no, that no one's going to read that wrong way. Greatest American Heroine, and they do the same thing where William Cat's character, his identity, his secret identity is blown.
Oh shit!
Right, so they're like, the aliens like, well, no, you can't do that.
For not wearing a mask.
We can't have exactly like you gave me the uniform, bro. We can't have that. So now you're no longer gonna be the hero.
The aliens came back.
Wait, and
they
then
repoed his jammies.
Basically, they say you're fired. Pick and train your replacement. They're like, now go out and find this chick. So they find.
Dude, Batman Beyond ripped off that shit.
They find like a literal
shocker. He found a hot chick,
a soap opera actress, and like, okay, now you're gonna be the new chick. She just looked like a female William Cat, Charlie. If I'm being totally honest. So to
be fair, William Cat's kind of delicious.
Not bad, not too shabby. So they filmed this like 2-hour premiere, and Fox was like, nah, we're not showing that shit either. We canceled before it even starts. So they really did him dirty. They were
believe it or not, they were canceled again.
Fox was his Lex Luthor in effect.
Oh shit!
So eventually, this stuff did come out like in DVD form and what have you. So
even the lost episodes.
Even the lost honeymoon episodes, we're like, it's not honeymooners at all. What are you doing? But we're gonna take it from the point of its natural conclusion. So, ladies and germs, with no further ado or a preamble, here is my proposed continuation.
Okay.
Harumph. It's 2024, Mr. Charlie, and Ralph Hinckley's granddaughter Holly is missing. Her adoptive father, Ralph's son Kevin, this is all in the show. His son Kevin has been estranged from his dad for years, but he's been meeting with Ralph's wife, Pam Davidson Hinckley, for weeks now in secret. And it's not one of those videos. I've seen a lot of videos that way. This is not one of them. Now Ralph is many years retired, but as a former teacher, he still volunteers his time helping at-risk youth a few days a week. One particular day, his scheduled student misses their appointment, so he just goes home early. Now, in the porn, he would find his wife cheating on him, but
with the student.
Potentially, exactly. That's actually, let me jot that one down for later. He's surprised to find his son, from whom he's estranged, and his wife commiserating at the kitchen table. Now they have this kind of tense exchange about how Ralph wasn't present for Kevin as he was growing up. Now we know that's because he was a fucking superhero, Kevin. You dick! Stop being so insensitive. But they have this exchange.
Oh, I'm so sorry for saving the
I know.
Fucking
Look at me, the
millennials.
bad guy. Red pajamas, nonetheless. How he cared about strangers' kids more than his own, and blah, 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 like a real dick.
Because those kids didn't suck.
We learned, though, along with Ralph, that Kevin has been speaking to Pam in secret for months. And the subject was his daughter, his adoptive daughter, has kind of been acting fucking strange. Now, he assumed drugs or a mental breakdown, because chick's like in her early 20s. And that was bad enough. But now, Charlie, now she's gone missing. Okay? And and I just fucking scrolled all the way up. So the story's over, guys. No, now she's gone missing. So now it's gone to a different level. Again, he assumed drugs or like mental breakdown, whatever. She's under a lot of stress, whatever the case. But now it's gotten worse. So now he really, really needs help. ASAP, right? Stat. What's gonna happen? So Pam Pam sends Kevin off to go make this report or make the report of a missing person with the police, and they're going to kind of reconnoiter at the house, her and her husband Ralph, just to have it on record. Now Ralph is kind of hearing what's going on, but Kevin's kind of putting him in the pay no mind list. Ralph's like, and again, he's an old dude. Like fucking William Cat is our Ralph in this series.
Okay.
He's like in his 70s.
Yeah.
So he kind of takes his 70-year-old self. He's like, well, I'm not going to run for president. I may as well do something else. And he goes over. He pulls down the attic stairs. He climbs them from under. Now in the attic, under piles of boxes and folded in a footlocker with the name Agent Bill Maxwell stenciled on the side. If you know, you know. Hinckley pulls out and holds up a very familiar, though clearly now too small, red super suit. So he's got it in his hand, like just shaking his head. What the fuck am I doing?
So the girl, we're real quick. The girl version's not canon. He never handed over the super suit.
No.
Okay.
No, the natural
It ends
series
where the show
done. Would have ended.
Thank you.
Because we didn't really get that.
Just making sure.
But again, don't worry.
Oh shit.
Good question. We're gonna get there. So he's got the suit now like in one hand. He's like, fuck me, this is not a one-hand suit. Now he makes his way back down. He finds his wife Pam from the show, waiting for him on the ground floor landing. She looks him up and down and says, totally, you might want to practice. Because Ralph is famously not too great at superheroing.
Losing instructions like a dick.
Charlie, cue up Believe It or Not at this point, because Charlie's favorite, we are cutting to a montage
Yay!
of Ralph. First, he slips on the suit,
BBM, bring back montages.
which morphs to fit him at his new size, because Charlie, alien super suit, can do some shit.
Is it still just the red onesie?
Oh yeah, it's the
Okay,
red
nice.
onesie, but it still fit. But now it fits him
But now,
when,
yeah.
when it really has no business. And we run through the many suit abilities, which every episode seemed to bring a new ability. We're gonna catch most of them, but comedically at first, because again, he wasn't super great. But just like riding a bike, it all comes back to him. Because then there was a period of time where he was pretty fucking good at it towards the end, and the stuff that we didn't see, he was like a boss. He knew what he was doing, curly head and all. But again, like riding a bike, it comes back. Now he feels ready. Still in that montage, he goes and he visits the grave of his ex-partner, FBI agent Bill, and he's kind of having a
That's
one-sided...
the name of the stencil.
Exactly right. He's paying attention. He has a one-sided heart-to-heart. He removes his raincoat. He's got his suit on.
Got the Clark Kent moment.
He fucking takes off, because again, this is his adoptive granted, but it's still his granddaughter, and goddamn it, he's gonna do the right thing. He takes to the sky. Meanwhile, in the same cemetery, granted about 200 yards away, his son Kevin is at his wife's gravesite. He can't help but see, like 200 yards away, a fucking guy just takes his. But I just see a guy fucking fly through the air. No idea what was going on, because again, it was secretive from the world, and also as well as when the aliens, when he blew. I'll give you a little backstory. When he blew his cover, so to speak, the aliens are like, look, you did a great job, but everyone knows who you are. Can't be the case anymore. You can no longer be the hero. Go. You have to find a replacement.
They're like, everything has its season.
Damn straight. Find your replacement, and then what we're gonna do is we're going to make everyone on Earth forget your, like they pull a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They fucking stole that shit from this. They're like, we're gonna make everybody forget, but you, Pam, who he was just smashing at the time, and Bill, the FBI agent.
He was also secretly smashing at the time.
Listen, that's a separate spin-off.
I'm the goddamn money, and I'm getting some gay sexist.
So they're like, this is how it's gonna be, and go. You gotta hand off the mantle, so to speak. So, but now he takes off to the fucking sky because his granddaughter's missing. The next scene finds us in space, and there's a very familiar starship making its way through the stars. The camera works its way around 360 because it's an old-fashioned round flying saucer. Makes its way 360 around the fucking ship, and now we're looking the same down the pipe, so to speak. It is headed towards Earth, and Earth is just growing in its fucking, in its big screen, so to speak. On a screen on the inside of the ship, we see a blinking icon on a digital map of the southwest of the United States. So we now know specifically where we're going.
Oh no!
And that's where Ralph is. Now Ralph is flying through the air. He's still doing a little bit like, because it's not easy. A similar icon begins flashing as if on a heads-up display, right? The suit is doing shit that he's never fucked with, but now he's got that icon. He's like, okay, and he just fucking leans into it. The GPS tells you to go to Charlie. You
don't gotta tell me
right,
that.
like,
I fucking
done. And
like, oh shit, the Waze app got installed on the suit.
Hook a left, even though there's no road there. So he fucking follows. He's like, okay, suit, take it away. So he realizes the implication. He redirects himself, and he starts heading. He starts headed that way. Now, when the icon is like, fucking land, stupid. He looks around, and where he is this luxurious ranch. So he lands roughly, granted, but he's like dusting himself. He's like, all right, gotta go find the chick. The front doors open up to reveal a young woman in her late 20s, and Charlie, she's wearing a variation of the alien super suit. Okay, it's clearly a version of his own suit, right? Same icon, and everything like that.
Oh, we're at the top floor, but keep going.
Yeah, we're gonna go right through that bitch. So she somewhat carefully levitates over from the doors to only a few inches away from Ralph. She leans in and says, "Grandpa Ralph?" Now we get a flashback to several months back as Holly, as we know her name is now, she's visited by the same alien vessel that had visited her grandfather years ago and provided her with a super suit of her own. This time, with the instructions embedded in a wrist communicator. Now this particular suit, while again it looks just like his, it's actually a white base. It's got a fucking it's got a white base. It's got a black cape and a red icon on her chest. So it's a variation of Ralph's own suit. She's kind of narrating this to her adopted grandfather, and she's explaining how the aliens like did the fucking Bumblebee thing, but like legacy and birthright were thrown up there. She's like, well, that I guess makes sense.
They used clips from Transformers.
They actually did. And how they insisted at the time that Holly, quote unquote, find her, but they didn't fucking explain any further because aliens are a little bit of dicks. And Ralph stops her and he asks her urgently, Holly, how have you been using your powers? Just at that moment, a fucking alien ship breaks the cloud line and lowers itself towards the Hinckleys. Funny story about Hinckley, but I'll get to that at the close. Now the ship continues to take up more and more of the sky as it descends. Ralph now has to yell at her, have you been doing the right thing? While taking a defensive position because he doesn't know what's about to happen. She responds, of course, right? And the camera at that point pans away from them and back to the ranch. And it's at that point that a massive explosion happens, right? On the roof of the fucking ranch, and basically a red, black, and white fucking blur flies from inside the ranch up straight towards the alien ship. And the Hinkley's like, no, they're holding each other. The ship erupts in a million pieces because whatever that was basically pulls a fucking Captain Marvel and just fucking flies through that bastard. And there's like this huge explosion, bits and pieces, millions of pieces, multiple explosions, up along the ship, right from belly to back until one final huge explosion just fucking reduces most of that shit to ash. Ralph and Holly are looking at it in horror, like, what the fuck? Now there's smoke and rubble, and as all that stuff, whatever's left is falling back down to earth. Charlie, a human woman drops from the sky. She's dressed in a third iteration of Ralph and Holly's suits. Goddamn right, black body, red symbol, white cape. And it only takes Ralph a few minutes to recognize this is Holly Stewart, the woman that was selected to replace him years ago. The same look of recognition crosses her face, and she mouths the words, I'm sorry, just before she hurtles towards grandfather and granddaughter. Now, We are now, and this is going to be the selling point, we are now witness to a knockdown, drag out, slobber knocker 2-on-1 fight between Hannah, Holly, and Ralph. All three are displaying different powers derived from the suits in the battle. And while Hannah is clearly the most well-versed and powerful of them all, eventually, Charlie, Holly, and Ralph work together and they get the best out of this bitch. Now, she's laying there, she's defeated, and she's like, I'm so sorry. She explains that while she'd been a champion of the people for many, many years, ultimately, a different alien species than the one that granted Earth the supersuits comes and fucking takes her kid. Fucking takes her kid away, holds the kid captive. There's shit she can do about it. They tell her, look, she needs to break bad, right? With the power she has, she needs to fucking break bad, so much so that the aliens that gave the suits originally return to take it away, because that's what they do, right? They're somewhat responsible, and they want these bastards to come back down to Earth and try to do something about her, and like she's in effect she's bait, really. Now at that point, they're like, well, she's like, well then what? And they're like, you know what? You fucking destroy them. You destroy these bitches with the power suit that they gave you. Oh, what such delicious irony. Because aliens have a very, very advanced sense of humor. So she's like, all right, and that's what she does it, but not because she wanted to, because they had her fucking kid. Yeah. So such is life. So whatever. So whatever. She flies through the fucking ship and she destroys it. Now she's subdued, right? Ralph is wondering out loud, what the fuck do we do with her? She's still a super suit. Like, yeah, we just beat her together, but like, what are we gonna do? Sit on her, right? Just then, Charlie, 3 more alien ships of the same ilk break the cloud line and they hover overhead, because originally in the pilot we see multiple alien ships. Only one gives a suit, but we see multiple ones at a given moment. So the fucking 3 are there, and they hover overhead. A beam fires down from the middle. We hear a guttural scream. Hannah is levitated up into the main ship. A nearby radio does its bumblebee bit, and the aliens thank Ralph and Holly. They express that Ralph is retired, okay, and they not like, you're an old man now. You have to find another replacement. You just got to do it, right? Another beam is shot from the ship, and there, boxed and folded, is the black version of the super suit, right? So he's wearing one, his fucking granddaughter's one, and they now have this third one to hand out. So now we go back to Casa de Hinckley. Ralph is sitting at the kitchen table. He's talking about how powers and abilities are wonderful, but without a family to lean on, ultimately flawed. Bill was a pain in the ass, his old partner, but he always had his back and he kept him safe. Now I can be that for you. My granddaughter, as he takes her hand, and my son, as he clasps Kevin's shoulder. Cut to the 3 generation of Hinkleys, all in their own versions of alien supersuits, standing in the rapidly raising sun. The camera pans up as we hear Holly say, we need to find Hannah's kid. She deserves that much. Ralph and Kevin agree, again, as in a voiceover, as the camera's panning up from sky to darkfall to now stars. We reach that Kerman line where the sky turns into space. Orbiting the Earth, Charlie, we find the malevolent alien vessel that fucking turned the screws and made this poor woman have to break bad. It's clearly like a warship. It's hell-bent on war. And across the screen, we read, to be continued, because like the original, this is going to be a movie that is leading to a new series. And in effect, it's going to be the greatest American heroes putting Ralph, yeah, he's in a super suit, but he's really kind of playing the role of Batman Beyond, right? Yeah. He's Bruce, and he's fucking the man in the van for his son and his granddaughter. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air.
I have 2 demands.
Demands?
I have 2 demands.
I do have a meeting with FX, but please hit me with the demands, please.
And not FXX. I have nothing to worry about. Fucking one of those channels replays Family Guy. One has season 83.
I mean,
of fucking It's Always Sunny.
We could go with the gags, but
so I love the warship reveal at the end. I do need, as much as part of me hates it, we're selling this to people. I need on that ship, I need one more variation of the suit. I need them to already have a human suit? Foil, because I'm going to need, you cannot give me 1 2-on-1 throwdown. I'm going to need the tease, maybe not season 1, maybe the end of season 2. I need to see someone, and may I suggest that's the first time, because the one thing we don't have, if I'm imagining the casting correct, we don't have like a traditional hero looking type, and I want a Momoa-sized, Cavill size. I need like a jacked dude.
See, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, you can point counterpoint.
My only issue is if they had such a weapon at their fucking fingertips, they would never have had to go to Hannah.
Sure.
And play that card.
What?
To
okay.
make her
true
fucking be the weapon.
True. See, in my head, it was just another hero from like another Earth hero that we just didn't know that there were a few running around. Because you open up the door to like, there's the retired guy, but like for some reason the Earth gets 2. Well, maybe the Earth has 3.
The reason why, quote unquote, Earth got 2, there was only one. There was Hannah, right? She took over from Ralph.
Then when she broke bad,
and then she
they
broke bad.
activated
They're
another
like,
one.
"Fuck, man, what's he gonna do?" They seek out his granddaughter, and then like because what happened was she went off the radar.
Sure.
So they're like, "Look, your first fucking order of business, you gotta go find this."
Can we
disaster.
tease them trying to build a suit?
The
bad guys.
Yeah, of course. Matter of fact,
I just need something that can eventually get us to a place where I get another superhero. People love Civil War style fights.
I'll give you this.
Tell me.
I will give you as the first season finale, because clearly this bitch is gonna run, run. For the first season finale, it's gonna be a 2-parter. I will give you the malevolent aliens version of the fucking super suit, and it'll be green. It'll be spiky. It'll be fucking visible weapons. It's not going to be that clean.
Yeah,
Ralph.
That's sold.
Ralph Hinckley version.
Before season 6, can you kill Ralph?
Well, considering that we've got, and I do not want to be dark about this.
I do not love where this is going.
He's not a whippersnapper. So yeah, this isn't politics. So at some point, I'm sure he will want to naturally retire. Yeah. We can eventually write Ralph off in one capacity or another. Whether we have him dying heroically, whether he
I like
goes
the heroic
quietly into the night, whether he
I don't want to pitch my own thing, but like maybe the evil guy proves he's a threat. Oh, man, this kid. Then his boys avenge him.
This kid is fucking.
Come take this blood money.
This is really evil.
Come on, kill Pippin.
If Charlemagne was willing to do it, so am I, sir. Good to be in business with.
There it is. The greatest American heroes coming soon. John,
Charlie.
There's truly only one way that we end each and every episode of US Comics Cast.
It's by killing old actors.
Killing old actors. It's a couple simple steps. I'm going to tell the people how to do it, but I need you to show the people how to do it, because first you got to turn the power on. Then you got to turn the volume, then you got to tune, baby, and open up the window wide and scream out into the night sky. Save me, greatest American hero. We out.